He's not enunciating.
Yeah.
Scion.
He enunciates like Lana. You can cut that.
It's going in. We're keeping it in. Welcome to Inchworm,
the podcast in which we are inching through worm. I'm Jenny.
And I'm Ted. And this week, Interlude 1.
Our first interlude! This was very exciting. I didn't know who it was going to be. I will say who it is as part of my recap.
Ooh, building suspense.
Yeah.
First question, did anything about this chapter ring a bell? Or is this uncharted worm territory?
I definitely haven't read this.
Amazing.
No. Yeah.
All right. It's off to the races now.
Yeah, I might have finished the first arc. I'm not sure, but I definitely didn't get this far.
Let's dive in.
All right. So this interlude is effectively in two parts. So the first part is kind of, we start reading and it's all like in quotes, like this is a long quotation from something. Turns out, spoiler for later in the recap, it's a television broadcast. So this is basically a history of the first parahuman, that word is introduced in this section. This is Scion. Ted asked me about Scion. I was not correct. It is not a psychic ionizer. Basically some sort of Dr. Manhattan Superman hybrid. Basically what this broadcast is talking about is in 1982, an ocean liner crossing the Atlantic Ocean saw this person hanging in the sky, naked, golden skin, just, hanging there. It seems like there were no capes, there were no parahumans at this point, so no one really knew what to make of it. He touched a woman's hand and cured her cancer, it is implied. And then he touched her brother's hand, and her brother was like profoundly emotionally moved by this experience. And the press found out, but no one really knew what to make of it. And he started appearing more and more often. He eventually started wearing clothing. It sort of progressed from like a toga to like a white bodysuit, which is apparently what he wears today. And he started interfering in human like accidents, basically, crises. Car crashes, natural disasters. He caught a serial killer, like the kind of stuff Superman does in comics, I guess. He's moving around the world now at faster than the speed of sound and just constantly solving crises. Very, very busy person. He has only spoken once, and it's when someone in, I guess what must be Russia, somewhere in that region of the world, asked him who he is. And he said, Scion. That's all we gotten from him. And apparently he was the first parahuman, and 5 years after his appearance, superheroes started emerging from secrecy and becoming known, becoming part of the world. At first they were deified, but it became clear that they were just humans with powers. I think the incident that revealed it was the superhero Vicare interfered in a sort of a brawl and was clubbed on the head and killed. And that person was the brother of the woman who had spoken in the broadcast, the one who touched Scion's hand and been so moved. Which is, when Scion was introduced, my reaction was, did he create the superheroes or is he just the first one? We still don't really know. So at that point, after we learn about Vicare, the broadcast is cut off and we learn that it is a television broadcast and that the person watching it is Taylor's dad. It's
Taylor's
his
dad.
Point of view.
He's confirmed. First interlude character, Danny.
This is great. I did not predict this at all. I was kind of expecting us to find out more about the world of capes, but this makes a lot of sense. We're learning about the aspects of Taylor's life that hadn't been explored in the last few chapters. We got a little bit of her home life, but hadn't met her dad, and now that is being fleshed out a bit. And what's going on for him is it's 3:15 in the morning and Taylor's not in her room. And he, goes to bed early, as Taylor told us. And he did go to bed early tonight, but he happened to wake up when he heard the back door open when she left.
Uh-oh.
So he's sitting there. It's been 3 hours. He's like, where is my daughter? He's understandably completely freaked out. He did call the cops, but they were like, call us if she's gone for 12 hours. And he's like, okay, best case scenario, she went for a run. Still really dangerous. It's not a great neighborhood. Worst case scenario, she was somehow lured out by her bullies. He knows about the bullies because earlier in this year, I guess in January, she was hospitalized. She went to the psychiatric ward. We really don't get any any details on what caused that or what resulted in her going to the hospital, like what was her reaction. We have no idea, but it was a very disturbing incident clearly for Taylor and also for Danny. And Danny is her dad's name, to be clear, Danny Hebert. And so he's really worried, and he hasn't really gotten any information from Taylor about her bullies. It's been really clear she does not want to talk about it, and he doesn't want to push because he knows that would result in her clamming up even more. And we learn that he does have a temper. He's always struggled with his temper. He's never lost his temper at Taylor. He has lost it a few times in her hearing. He lost it a few years ago at his wife. It's the only time he's broken his vow never to lose his temper at his family. His dad apparently had a temper, and he really didn't want to repeat that pattern, but he did lose his temper. His wife, Annette, and that was the last time he saw her. So we learn that Taylor's mom is presumably still alive. He is tempted to call her when Taylor's missing, but he knows she won't answer. So it sounds like alive, not in communication. We don't really know if he knows where she is or anything like that. So Taylor comes back. He hears the door shut. He is listening to her moving around downstairs. He hears another door. He's like, well, it can't be the basement. Why would she go there? It must be the bathroom or something. And then he hears her moving around the kitchen, hears her coming up, going into her room, shutting the door. And he's like, should I go? Like, maybe she's really hurt. Then he smells jam and toast. He's like, okay, she made herself a snack. She's probably not that badly hurt if she could come home and make herself jam and toast. So his worry is assuaged, but he is mad, and he is really tempted to go and interrogate her, and remembering his vow not to lose his temper is what it helps hold him back. And specifically, when she was in the psychiatric hospital, it's one of the few times that she has heard him lose his temper. He was yelling at the school principal to the extent that I guess a nurse wanted to call the police on him. And then when he went into Taylor's room, she was awake and had clearly been listening, and he's afraid that she was afraid of him, and that's why she won't give him any details on her bullies, because she thinks he's going to take matters into his own hands and go after the bullies. And thinking this is what gives him the strength to not go yell at her. He's like, that would just make things worse. That would drive her away. I need to let her come to me if she wants to. So he does not interfere. He does decide. I mean, I guess that's not quite what he decides. He decides he's going to talk to her calmly about it in the morning and find out where she went. But he's not going to talk to her now because he doesn't think it would... he thinks it would make matters worse. Yeah, I think that's about it. Ted, do you have anything to add to this summary?
No, I mean, I think we'll touch on a bunch of other details. That was pretty thorough. What did you think of the chapter?
I mean, I thought it was really good. It's like arguably a clunky tool to have that broadcast at the beginning, but I really enjoyed it. I mean, no complaints.
I mean, I feel like it's classic. And I feel like it was fairly well executed and not super...
It was really engaging. I was very immersed in the narrative of Scion.
Yeah.
And then just being in Danny's head, I thought his thought processes were really compelling.
Yeah, I feel like this chapter probably is my favorite so far. I really, really like just seeing... I mean, the interludes are always fun, but Danny feels like such a different person than Taylor, and it really makes me realize the extent to which it's not just like a generic voice. Like, we've been in Taylor's head the whole time,
right.
And now this is Danny, who's very different. Like, the thing that stands out to me is obviously totally different life experience, but the way that he is like... He has a lifetime of experience, reflecting on who he is and what his strengths and weaknesses are, and the way that he's sort of thinking about his anger, and he can't quite control it, but he kind of knows that this situation could be bad. The fact that he sees himself as this flawed person, but he knows how to manage it, is so different compared to Taylor being a teenager who's comes across as fairly idealistic and naive and a little dogmatic,
a little
and
perfectionistic.
Yeah. And sort of self-aggrandizing in a very teenage type of way. And she doesn't reflect on herself with that level of detail because she doesn't have that experience, and she's still growing and changing and stuff.
Yeah, and Danny clearly has regrets, has done things he regrets that have resulted in loss in his life. And he's kind of living with that, but it seems like he hasn't moved past it necessarily.
Yeah. one of the things that I loved about revisiting this chapter, I guess one thing I'll say, just to say it and then move past it, is this is the first chapter in the reread where there's stuff that I want to say that I cannot say because of spoilers.
Nice.
But I think that despite the fact that it's only Danny's point of view, we do have this like sort of study in contrasts of like the Superman Dr. Manhattan figure who's like mythic, unknowable, possibly like the father of all capes, like you were suggesting, like maybe that's he touched a man and that man got superpowers, is like, you know, we don't know how superpowers work or anything, right? But you have this like cape daddy, and then Danny he describes himself as being totally impotent. He's like the absolute opposite.
I highlighted that word as like impotent in a world of powers.
Exactly, the absolute opposite of Scion. And it's so funny in a cape story. I mean, we don't know how easy it is to get superpowers. Maybe Danny would get superpowers or not, but it's so interesting to have in this story that's a superhero story. We have this guy who he's just a normal guy.
Yeah.
And he thinks about Taylor. He's like, okay, there are two really obvious things that this could be. She's out for a run, or her bullies are after her. He doesn't once think she's a superhero.
Right. It's a chapter where he doesn't do anything. Like, he thinks about stuff, he hears stuff, he watches stuff, you know, but he doesn't take any action. But him not taking any action, I mean, it's the really classic Animorphs line where, like, you know, they're always talking about Jake is a good leader because he knows that, like, you know, making no decision is also a decision. Like, you know, taking no action is also, you know, taking action. And that's what Danny does. Like, he very deliberately is like, okay, not going to talk to her is the best choice. It's the only choice that's not going to make things worse.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of self-control and self-understanding for him to make that decision.
Yeah. And it works with his view of himself as being impotent. I also think we do get Danny's feelings towards Taylor, but we don't see Taylor from Danny's perspective in this chapter.
It's true.
Right?
He doesn't actually see her.
Which
he
is
just kind
like,
of hears her in the distance.
It really feels like an isolated interlude, and not like if he went to confront her, he would be moving Taylor's story forward in a way that it's too early to do that, or it wouldn't feel right necessarily. It's like this really is a little side story.
Right. Taylor gets to be the one to move her story forward in her chapters.
Right.
And this is just like a little view into her dad's head.
Yeah. So I feel like that, you know, despite the clunky exposition, it works on a couple of levels. And I really love the final line when he decides to go to sleep. It says like Danny dreamed of the ocean or something, which is Scion floating over the ocean in the documentary that was on TV. They live on the ocean on Brockton Bay. We learn that Danny has some kind of boss type job at the docks. He works with dock workers or something. But I sort of like that. I guess I like it as the image of like, I don't think it's overly dream symbolism symbolic, but it's nice to leave him with this like, totally open freedom. It's like the exact opposite of him feeling trapped in his bedroom in his house.
Yeah, in his half of the bed, because he's not using the other half.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That's like very potent symbolism. The, like not taking up your wife's half of the bed 4 years after she left, driven away by your anger.
Yeah. So any thoughts on what happened with Taylor's mom? I guess you talked about it in the summary a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
it really was sad the way that he brings it up in the chapter. Yeah. The sort of like he's still feeling that grief, and
the guilt.
And it's interesting to me that it's not top of mind for Taylor. Like, I'm sure we'll get Taylor's perspective on it at some point.
But she hasn't mentioned it, yeah.
Right. And when she talks about her mom, she doesn't immediately, you know, think about like, oh, the last time I saw her, or like there wasn't any emotion behind it.
Did she mention her mom at all? I don't remember.
In like the first chapter, she talks about like her mom's features, like she's looking in the mirror herself. I think some of that stuff. Yeah. But yeah, it's because it feels so visceral, Danny's emotions about it. Yeah. And it hasn't come up for Taylor yet.
So for both this and the bullying incident, we find out that it happened. We know it's bad. but we don't know what happened.
Mm-hmm.
It says, so the line is 4 years ago, he had lost his temper with Annette for the first time, breaking his oath to himself. That had been the last time he had seen her. He loses his temper at this woman once and she leaves forever. What the heck did he do?
Yeah.
Like, that's got to have been real bad.
Yeah. And I have painted a fairly sympathetic portrait of Danny so far.
Yeah, yeah.
And while he does seem to reflect on his anger issues, he doesn't go into specifics. So there's definitely room for, like, he might be... Well, I'll turn this into a question. It's sort of like, what do we think Taylor... How do we think Taylor feels about her father? Like, has she seen him do awful things and he's a monster, or...
She has seen that. He seems very aware of that. He doesn't... I mean, I think part of the reason he's so sympathetic as a character in this is that he really owns his mistakes, does not try to rationalize them, does not try to minimize them. It's possible he's even exaggerating them. We don't know. Like, maybe it feels so bad in his head. But, I mean, it made his wife leave, made the nurse think she needed to call the police. Probably not exaggerating them much. Taylor hasn't said much about her dad. She is hiding the cape thing from him. She does think of home as a sanctuary. Mm-hmm. And so I don't think she is afraid of him. Mm-hmm. My impression is that she has a neutral to positive relationship with her dad. It's not based on a ton, but I feel like if he were a problem in her life, we would have seen that in her chapters.
Yeah. And now, I genuinely don't remember if we ever get the mirror scene of Taylor in the hospital seeing Danny be angry or something, but my take, he's worried about Taylor's afraid of what he'll do, taking action on her behalf, and that's why she won't open up about how bad the bullying is. Mm-hmm. I feel like there's so many reasons why you wouldn't want to talk to your dad about bullying. I mean, the same feeling of impotence, honestly. Like, just admitting that you couldn't do anything in the face of the bullying could be sad. So, I don't think Danny's necessarily right that Taylor is worried about Danny taking action.
I think that's right. I think he knows. He doesn't really know what's going on with Taylor's, like, inner life right now. And that's just, like... That's something he's afraid of, but there's no real reason to think that that's actually what she's thinking. Yeah, and you mentioned that Taylor thinks of her home as a place of comfort, and I imagine that she appreciates that Danny she wouldn't want him to... for her. Oh, I was going to say she wouldn't want him to know, because that would bring the bullying into that place of comfort. Oh, right, but I think it's both things. It's right. I suspect that the reason that Taylor thinks well of her father is because... he's probably the only person in her life that she thinks is on her side. He's in her corner. Right, right. And she doesn't want him, maybe she doesn't want him to intervene. Maybe she's worried that he would do so in a harmful way. Yeah. But I think, that's my guess based on what Taylor said. I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I think mostly she's a teenager, and what teenager wants to go to their parents with all their problems? Like, you just want to... Absolutely. It's the stage of life where you want to be moving away from that. Yeah. I did have another thought about her mom. The text does lead us to believe that her dad lost his temper and so her mom left. I'm going to come down on the side of that being a red herring. I think her dad lost his temper because her mom was leaving, and I think it'll turn out there's more of a reason, which also feels more like genuine human behavior to me. I think most people, even if they would not leave after their spouse losing their temper at them once. I suspect it was a common cause of both things. Like, something caused her to leave, and either that something or just the fact that she was leaving, made him lose his temper. Yeah. Yeah, I think that you're right to look for those kinds of red herrings and things in the text. I want to read another part of it. I think the other sort of set of clues that we got about what went down is very interesting. For the 20th time, he felt the urge to ask his wife for help, for advice, for support. But her side of the bed was empty, and it had been for some time. Daily, it seemed, he was struck by the urge to call her cell phone. He knew it was stupid. She wouldn't pick up. And if he dwelt on that for too long, he became angry at her, which just made him feel worse. He wondered, even as he knew the answer, why he hadn't gotten Taylor a cell phone. Danny didn't know what his daughter was doing, what would drive her to go out at night. She wasn't the type. And then it goes on. Oh, even though he knew the answer, but he doesn't tell us the answer. Yeah. I mean, which could be anything. It could be like, she's too young for a phone. I don't want her on the social medias, though it's pretty early for that. But I suspect he doesn't want her mom getting in touch with her. Interesting. Yeah, I wonder if sounds like there's quite a tangle there.
Yeah, and it's a related thought. It's related to his issues with his wife.
It could also be a completely different, unrelated thing.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't want her to have a cell phone for some reason we haven't guessed. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm noticing now, like looking back through the chapter, before he talks about his temper, there are several mentions of him feeling anger. Like you just quoted that he would, if he thought about it, he'd be angry at his wife.
Yeah.
There's a line, he felt a smoldering resentment toward the city for having neighborhoods and people he couldn't trust his daughter to.
Yeah.
And that connects also with the sort of impotence feeling and...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like... This is something that I don't even know that I picked up on it in sort of the first read through, but this really realistic depiction of generational trauma. Like he reflects on how his father had a bad temper.
Yeah.
He inherited that bad temper, but he made a promise to himself not to ever inflict it on his own family, which he has struggled with a lot. And so he knows his anger can hurt people because someone angry hurt him. And he has a lot of anger, but he has no model or experience like dealing with his anger in a healthy way.
Right.
Right. Like
he thinks of his anger as a bad thing.
Right.
As a dangerous thing, not as a healthy part of his emotional, palette.
It's totally reasonable to be angry at your daughter for sneaking out and not telling you why. Or like at least, his anger about the bullying is very reasonable. Like a lot of the stuff he talks about being angry at the mayor for reneging on some contract for his workers at the docks, right? Like the stuff that he cites, with maybe the exception of the incident with his wife, it seems like it's like when he loses his temper.
And I bet he had a good reason. I mean, maybe he showed it in a bad way. I don't know. But I bet he had a good reason to be angry at that point.
Right,
yeah.
Right. From his perspective, he doesn't seem like someone who gets unreasonably angry. But that seems like something he's worried about.
Afraid of his own anger.
Yeah, exactly. And, oh my gosh, that also, it totally connects to Taylor's feelings when she thinks about her bullies, and she kind of like, well, that's another reason to kill the trio, or like, I'm going to go carry on them or whatever. And her decision to not attack, right? She probably, whether intentionally or not, is picking up from her dad, or maybe has the same kind of temper issue of like, I'm worried about what would happen if I wouldn't
be able to control myself.
Right. If I let myself go out of control.
Yeah.
It's something that she and her dad have in common.
Yeah.
What do you think happened with Taylor in January? So that the facts that we get are...
I mean, I think whatever happened is what caused her powers.
That's a good guess, yeah.
I mean, the timeline kind of makes sense. Yeah. I don't know what month we're in now. I can't remember if we learned.
Spring, like March, April, I don't know. So it's been a few months. And that lines up with...
Yeah, I know she's had her powers for a few months. I don't really know... I don't think we've learned in the text, but we have talked about how there are triggering incidents, like trauma or maybe other types of incident, I don't know, that result in powers. I don't know if the powers hit you right away.
Yeah.
I was sort of thinking it's like, when I was 3, I was traumatized by the water, and then when I hit puberty, I developed powers, because like I feel like puberty and powers just tends to be a thing in fiction. But for this, it could be that something traumatic happened with Bugs, with her bullies, and she got the powers right away.
Right.
Which would make sense, especially where she doesn't like the bugs. Based on what we've seen them do, like the thing with the juice it was very cruel, but it was also relatively harmless.
Yeah.
Like pouring juice on someone is, just really mean, kind of senseless violence, but like not gonna do serious harm.
Yeah.
It sounds like this must have been much worse, which is interesting.
He uses the word grotesque, I think.
Yeah, which is kind of a word you would use if you're talking about like a swarm of bugs being locked in the bathroom with someone, or I don't even know.
Yeah, whatever it is. And that's an interesting, because the detail that stood out to me is like she was hospitalized in the psych ward, right? It's like they didn't
what did she
break
do?
her arm or something.
Yeah.
Or I was going to say it could be a two-step thing. The bullying, somehow incited these powers, but the powers could have been so overwhelming that she was hospitalized.
That's
she talks
interesting.
about sort of the information overload she got.
Yeah, because she's now learned how to handle them better, but at the beginning.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because that is a little bit baffling. Like,
yeah.
Bullying incident at school, she reacts in some way and ends up in the psych ward. Like, that doesn't quite add up as a timeline.
Right.
because, like, it would be clear that it was provoked by something. It does seem like her dad knows about the bullying incident, so it's not like the school is like, no, she just flipped out for no reason. It seems like she must have been in some serious form of distress.
Yeah.
I don't think she hurt anyone at that time, just based on the way she's been talking. She hasn't brought up any guilt. She's been talking about, like, oh, I could hurt them. No, I wouldn't do that. Like, right. I feel like it would have come up as, you know,
right.
That's not the thought process of someone who has already seriously hurt someone badly enough to end up in the psych ward.
Right.
So I suspect, here's my theory, they somehow inundated her with bugs, locked her in a space with bugs, something potentially dangerous. It sounds like her dad was really upset about it. And because of the trauma, maybe during the traumatic incident, developed some connection to the bugs, like was able to suddenly get all of their senses. Like you were talking about the sensory overload, she kind of went catatonic. And so they took her to the psych ward because she was physically all right, but just wasn't responding.
Yeah. And that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
If you're totally overwhelmed.
I suspect that the bullies, because they don't seem to have faced adverse consequences, I suspect they were able to be like, oh my gosh, we didn't even know she was still in there. You know, some sort of plausible deniability that, like, her dad is like, no, clearly they knew. And the school is like, well, we can't prove that. And that's why her dad got so mad. Yeah.
I guess, two things. The school says, oh, we'll just look out for her or whatever.
Right.
It seems like there were no consequences. Danny doesn't know...
Oh, he doesn't know who the bullies are. Right, okay.
And in particular, it's so sad. He thinks, the bullying's gotten so bad that Taylor's best friend, Emma, stopped hanging out with her. And it's like...
Emma!
Yeah. And I mean, another reason why Taylor wouldn't want to talk about it. Because, like, it's so awful that your best friend turns on you like that.
Yeah.
And Danny must
it's so embarrassing.
Be close to Emma. He probably has a good opinion of her.
Yeah.
She came over every other
family.
week. Right. It's like, it's so sad. Yeah, they talk about, they did consider transferring schools, but there's only one other school that's like close enough to their zip code or whatever.
There's like a long wait list.
It's the more
that's
popular
so
school.
Yeah, bureaucracy. I do think bureaucracy is going to be an enemy in this.
Yeah.
I also, I mean, this is getting into predictions, but I think Emma is going to get powers. Because I think there's effort going into her being, I wouldn't say an interesting character so far, but having an interesting role in Taylor's life. And I kind of feel like that's wasted if she doesn't enter the world of capes. So
yeah.
I think that would be would be a strong move.
No, that makes sense.
Just thinking about the bullying, this is sort of the setup she's in her real life. It's a little bit of like a bridging conflict because, you know, she hasn't really entered the cape world that fully yet. So I'm curious because it seems like Wild Bow is very good at like connecting threads and building something elaborate and like bringing things back around. I'm curious to what extent the bullying will be thematically related to her existence in the cape world. Like, is her life in the world of capes going to be a big contrast to the bullying? Is she going to find herself bullied there too? Like she was worried about in the wards? Like, it's making me wonder how those things will be related.
Yeah, something to look out for.
Yeah.
I know I want to talk more about Scion. The last thing I'll say about Danny to sort of transition us back there is I really liked this is even maybe less of a Danny thing than more of a, is this perhaps Wild Bow putting out something, you know, that is true in this story for us to see early on, is when the documentary is about to be switched off. They're saying sort of like, oh, you know, the golden age of parahumans was at an end. But, you know, it turns out parahumans, after all, are just people, and people are flawed at their core. And then click, the TV goes off, and then we learn all about Danny's, like, lifelong struggle with anger.
Yeah.
And it feels like such a...
It's a good narrative lead-in.
Good narrative lead-in to that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really fun. I didn't pick up on that. I mean, I didn't know it was coming. Should we talk about Scion?
Oh my god, yeah. Can I read for our listeners the description of Scion?
Yes, you can.
We get a couple... He was naked, his arms to his sides, his long hair blowing in the wind as he stood in the sky, nearly 100 feet above the gently cresting waves. His skin and hair can only be described as a burnished gold. With neither body hair nor clothes to cover him, it is said he seemed almost artificial. His expression was unchanging, but witnesses at the scene reported that he appeared deeply sad. And then, from a bit later, The Golden Man would reappear several more times in the coming months and years. At some point, he donned clothing. At first, a sheet worn over one shoulder and pinned at either side of the waist. Then, more conventional clothes. In 1999, he donned the white bodysuit he still wears today.
Yeah. So, I'm really curious about the use of the word artificial in that description you just read. Possibly it was just a descriptor that, he kind of looks like a statue, but I am suspicious. And I suspect that we will learn that he is in fact artificial in some way.
Interesting.
That he was created. He was, some sort of Dr. Frankenstein situation. Or...
Yeah. Well, it fits sort of the Dr. Manhattan was one of the
right, he came from the Manhattan
figures
Project.
You cited. Right, so that was a nuclear power gone wrong, but created this deity-like figure. There could be some similar sci-fi explanation for what his deal is.
Before this interlude, I didn't necessarily expect us to delve into the origin and cause of capes or parahumans. It wasn't really on my radar for the story. I kind of assumed they've always been around. But now we learn that they're actually really recent.
Yeah.
And the 80s.
This answers your question about Armsmaster, despite being in his, early 30s, potentially, saying, I got a name kind of before all the good ones were taken.
Right. There might have been exponential growth recently. So, even if he was only picking a name 20 years ago.
Right. It's been a generation. So Armsmaster, he's not a first generation... He might not be a first-generation cape, but he's probably a second-generation cape. He was a teen in the 90s, maybe.
Yeah. Right, so there wouldn't have been as many names.
An interesting thread to pull on, though, is it doesn't quite spell it out that this is causal, but it's very heavily implied. Sort of, Scion touches this guy on the boat, and then years later we find out that he was one of the first capes.
Right, it would be very surprising if that were... a coincidence. I mean, we do know that strong experiences can lead to powers, so maybe that was just a strong experience with Scion that led to powers. Scion can't be creating all the capes, right? Taylor would know if she'd interacted with Scion.
Yeah. It almost, I'm going to, knowing the answers that we get in the story, I will speculate, it seems almost like it's infectious in some way, right? It's
and that would, if it is exponential, if there are more and more capes, which we don't know, I'm just kind of guessing.
Right.
That would make sense.
So it's obviously not like if you hang out with a cape for 5 minutes, you get powers. But, you're right. He's hanging out with Scion. He has a huge emotional thing happen to him. Yeah. And then maybe that's...
And maybe it's sort of like... I haven't seen The Walking Dead, but my understanding is that they all carry the virus or whatever that would turn them into zombies if they die.
Right.
And maybe this is like...
a similar...
the virus that will turn you into cape under the right circumstances is spreading. And so if you've been exposed, if you've been infected, so to speak, and then you have the right kind of inciting incident, then you will get powers.
Yeah, it would be interesting. And other sort of lore that we get is that the technical term for capes, you mentioned, parahumans.
Name of the WordPress.
More than humans, beyond humans. And the fact that the WordPress is named, this is a fun fact, not related to the story, but parahumans.wordpress.com. I believe it is the case that, so the world that this story takes place is something that Wildbow had imagined for a long time. Mm-hmm. And Taylor was a late addition to the world as sort of the protagonist he found that could tell the story that he wanted to tell.
Very Tolkienian, yeah.
Yeah. But he did, I think, initially conceive that parahumans might host multiple stories. So there could be like Worm Wednesdays, but then there might be some other, thing, another narrative.
I'd say that's ambitious, but it's clearly within his powers.
Of parahumans that he hosted there. So I believe that's why it's hosted at Parahumans WordPress and not like wormstory.wordpress.
I mean, it also makes sense to me as like, I feel like if I start a file for like writing something, I'll just like pick a related keyword and like call it that. Like that feels like what he did.
Yeah, exactly.
Could have been capes. So I want to talk about Scion's name.
Yes.
So he's asked, "Who are you?" I assume that's Russian. I think they're in like Alexandrovsk. I forget the name of the place.
Yeah. Well, the documentary translates it as "What are you?"
What are you? Okay.
Apologies for my Russian pronunciation.
Uh-huh.
Oh, well, I mean, interesting that Scion, whoever he is, whatever he is,
so he
understands Russian.
And he answered with a word that sounds like an English word.
Yeah. Maybe.
Scion is not the kind of word where you hear it and it can't possibly be anything else.
Ooh, okay.
And it also seems like it was being heard, well, it was caught on camera, so it wasn't just being heard by people who speak Russian.
It's barely audible.
It's barely audible.
He's not enunciating.
Yeah.
Scion.
He enunciates like Lana. You can cut that.
It's going in. We're keeping it in.
We've been listening to Lana Del Rey. I have a few ideas.
Love it.
Either this is a word that just happens to sound like Scion, and people have taken this to be Scion because it sounds cool, it looks cool, like, why not? It's a cool idea. Why would he have a name in English? That doesn't really make sense to me, so I don't think that's super likely to be his actual name, or for that word to be what he intended. But if it is, then I think possibly he was more answering what are you than who are you. And this broadcast is like ironic because we took a word that meant descendant and used it to name the first of many superpowered individuals, parahumans, to appear across Earth. And I think if he was answering the question, what are you, and he did actually mean Scion, the English word, then it kind of plays into my artificial theory that he's like...
Yeah.
A creation, or like maybe an evolution of humanity.
Yeah.
The result of humanity's actions in some way.
Yeah.
And he was trying to get that idea across.
Yeah. You've speculated quite a bit about him, or maybe his origins, but like, what's his deal?
So he's like literally now just running around the planet, or flying around the planet faster than the speed of sound and constantly solving crises.
Right. But like crises of any size, right? He puts out fires, he stops volcanoes, he prevents car accidents. Like, is that one of the things that was cited? Yeah, like, it's...
Does he save cats out of trees? Like...
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of... It's weird. And it's also, he can clearly fly, and he clearly can manipulate, like, water and fire, but it's very unclear, like, what powers he has that would help him catch terrorists or serial killers.
Did he catch terrorists?
Or he stops a terrorist incident or something.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so like his power set seems very, very strong, but also like a little undefined. It's like, what is he doing?
He seems to be able to do everything. Yeah.
So yeah, what's his deal? Why is he just a little savior machine?
It's unclear. We obviously don't have any interiority on him. He seems a little bit like... almost like a parody of Superman. Superman who famously just like flies around the planet doing these like...
Yeah. He's not like building a new economic system to lead humans to prosperity.
No,
he's just flying around.
He's very responsive. Responding to events. Yeah, kind of on the back foot a little bit.
Yeah. It is a really nice... Scion does seem like a really nice, clear send-up of both Superman and Dr. Manhattan as like a combined character. It's very appealing. And to distinguish him, he has long hair.
Yeah, exactly. I was surprised by that. I was like, oh, doesn't fit my image of either of those two people.
It almost makes him more like Jesus-y.
But Superman famously has a private life.
Yeah.
And Scion
has no time for it.
And if he does have a secret identity, he's hiding it extremely well.
Yeah.
Which would be fascinating. I would love that if he turned out to have a secret identity that was just like a normal person.
Yeah. And presumably, they don't really talk about this, but I have to imagine it's like when the government has their like Santa tracker or whatever that you can follow, like NORAD, like going around the globe.
There must be a website. Yeah.
No, right, exactly. There must be just like whereisScionnow.com.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, he's flying, we don't know why, but he's flying towards Brazil. It's like, oh, okay. It's also unclear, like, does he know where to go, or does he just fly around randomly until he sees something he can help with? It's, fascinating. Fascinating and somewhat silly. Oh, I had one other question, which is, he's, the only emotion he's ever described as is, when he first appears, he is deeply sad. Uh-huh. Is that, do you think Scion is sad, or do you think that is just a fun, maybe he has resting sad face?
I wouldn't be surprised if he came from tragedy in some way. I mean, Superman did. Dr. Manhattan, I guess, didn't really come from tragedy. He came from sort of atrocity. But yeah, that would be sort of a fitting flavor of backstory. So I looked up Scion, Psion, which is pronounced the same. And there would be no way to distinguish between Scion and Psion in audio. And it seems to be a...
Psychic ionizer?
So it is a subatomic particle, but it's also, in fiction, it appears to be a DC Comics alien species.
Ooh.
Which I'm sure Wildbow knows about.
Yeah.
It's a D&D class of psionics are a form of supernatural power manifested purely by mental discipline. So there is some sort of, psychic power thing going on.
Yeah. Without spoiling anything, I can tell you that I can guarantee that Wildbow was aware of all of these meanings.
Yeah.
And whether or not they are like legit clues or just fun associations.
Easter eggs, yeah.
They were probably all intended.
Yeah. It is also a fictitious unit of mental energy in the 1951 novella, The Greatest Invention, which sounds like potentially the origin of the word.
Like psionics.
Yeah. Yeah, so I feel like humanity is really leaping to some conclusions by saying like, oh, this is how it's spelled. And because the broadcast doesn't acknowledge that, I assume we're going to find out more about that at some point.
And taking it back to my transition statement, I don't see Scion as someone particularly deeply flawed if he's spending all of his time saving things, right? Like,
he's sort of the godlike one, and then all these other parahumans are just humans who have a power.
Right.
It's like, how do these things
so
connect?
What I'm saying is the artifice or the godlike nature, he doesn't seem like a flawed person who got superpowers.
He's making up for past sins.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting. That's very interesting.
No, but you're right. There's this... On one side, we have parahumans who have had traumatic experiences. I guess maybe there are other causes of these abilities. We haven't seen it yet in the text. Who can be killed, who are, normal humans aside from that. And then we have Scion, who's like, what the heck is this dude? He, like, floats and doesn't speak and spends all his time literally flying around faster than the speed of sound and saving people. Like, that's a totally different category.
Yeah.
Is he also a parahuman, really? Did he result in all the parahumans? Like, Yeah. It's unclear.
Good stuff. Yeah, before we go to sort of like prediction stuff, how did you feel when Taylor came back and made toast? I had a little smile.
It was like, very endearing.
It was so cute. She just had this like knockout fight. She got mistook for being a villain.
Yeah.
And she's
she
like,
met one of her heroes.
You know what would be good before I have to face my awful life at school?
Yeah.
Make some toast.
It's just really grounding us back in the ordinary. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. And it does tell us something, even though we don't see her in this chapter, it does tell us something about her state of mind. Like, she's with it enough to make toast. And her dad concludes, like, oh, she must not be that hurt. And we can also kind of conclude that, like, okay, she's re-entered her ordinary life. Yeah,
I mean, I'll turn it over to you for predictions. I can tell you, next arc 2, is 9 chapters long. It's called Insinuation, as previously mentioned.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I predicted pretty thoroughly last time. Yeah,
and I
did add some predictions. I will say, we know that Taylor's dad is planning to talk to her in the morning. I do expect we'll at least see that conversation. I don't think Taylor's going to tell him anything or anything true. I'm not sure what story she's going to use.
Yeah.
Maybe she did go for a run. But I think she's going to be like, okay, now how am I supposed to go out and do stuff if my dad is aware of this? Like, this makes things harder for her.
Yeah.
So, new problem to be solved.
Right. I got some cape names for you.
All right, I love it.
First up, Uber.
Uber, a driver, obviously. No, this was this was before
2011.
This was before Uber. I'm gonna say probably like a super strength cape.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna predict that it's a man. Because I think it would be more interesting to have it be a woman, but that's not what we've seen in the cape so far. In
Got it.
In Worm.
Yep, brawlers are men.
I hope it's a woman.
And Leet.
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 Oh, definitely a tech person.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, like a hacker.
Okay, yeah. Hack into anything type.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, strong person and a hacker.
Nice. Good stuff. Well, until next time.
All right, next arc.
Yeah, Insinuation.
Arc number 2.
2.1.
See you there.
Worm is a web serial by J.C. McCrae. You can read Worm at parahumans.wordpress.com and support the author at patreon.com/wildbow. Follow us on Tumblr and Blue Sky at Inchworm Podcast, or find our Discord link and any other updates on inchwormpodcast.com.